loved the week Shohei had.
Dude.
Just mashed. 467, 4 homers, 8 RBIs, a 1.625 OPS, raising his season stats. On the year, he's hitting 355 with 11 homers, 27 RBIs, 9 stolen bases, a 1.103 OPS. Just remarkable.
He is solely focused on hitting right now. And we knew something special was going to happen this season when all of that focus, all of that great energy was just going to be honed in on him at the plate. Okay? But Ben, a DH, a sole DH has never won an MVP. So what would it take for Ohtani to win NL MVP this year just as a DH?
Well, a DH has never won MVP, like you said. That has never happened. There have been 2 DHs that have finished second in the MVP voting, Paul Molitor and David Ortiz. Now, there has been, again, no DH to ever win MVP, but there has never, in the history of baseball, been an MVP or been a designated hitter like Shohei Ohtani. He might steal 40 bags this year.
Whew.
And that is something that is very rare out of a designated hitter role. The record, if you will, for a DH, and I'm going back and thinking if they were at the designated hitter position for over 100 games in the year, Shohei's going to be 162 or however many games he ends up playing this year. He ain't going to play a game other than in the DH role, unless he plays a game or 2 in the outfield at the end of the year, which I don't think is going to happen. But these other guys are, Paul Molitor played over 100 games in a DH role one year. So I'll say we'll say that he DH'd. He stole, the record is 31 stolen bases. Okay? So in this year, the year he came in second, 1993, he hit 332, hit 22 home runs, 111 RBIs, stole 22 bases, had a 5.6 WAR. The all-time record for a full-time DH, if you will, is 31 stolen bases. I think Shohei is going to break that. I think Shohei is going to break the record for most stolen bases for a DH ever. That's not something you normally see, right?
Yeah.
A designated hitter isn't typically going to steal you a bunch of bases. They're the big poppies of the world. They're the JD Martinez's of the world. When he had a year with the Tigers where he was predominantly DH, that he was unbelievable. They're the Jordans of the world, the Edgar Martinez's of the world, guys that aren't stealing you 10 bags. Shohei might steal you 40. So I look at that year with Paul Molitor. There was a year with David Ortiz, the year that he came in second, that he put up some numbers that you would argue were good enough. 300 average, 47 homers, 148 RBI, and a 5.2 WAR. So the last 2 guys I mentioned, David Ortiz and Paul Molitor. Couple things in common there. 1, they came in second in the MVP voting. 2, both of them had a WAR in the 5s. And if you might be confused exactly about WAR, join the club. But essentially, there's a lot of different things that go into it that, position being one of them. Being a designated hitter hurts your WAR. You start at a disadvantage. So 5.2, 5.6 in that WAR range is what got them second in the MVP voting. Shohei Ohtani is on pace for a WAR over 10 out of the DH role. There's only been a few 10-plus WAR seasons in history.
Yeah.
And Shohei's had a couple of them. He's on pace this year for solely a DH. He's had a 10-plus WAR season before because he's a pitcher and a hitter. As solely a DH, currently on pace for over a 10 WAR. So I do think the conversation is one to have. And I'm glad we are having it. I think there is a possibility for him to win the MVP award.
It's going to take, I think for me, if he wins a Triple Crown, that could be a really big boost in Ohtani's direction. Now, he currently leads the league in batting average. He's first. He's tied for second in home runs at 11th. He's 13th in RBI. And as you said, he could potentially steal, what'd you say, 40 bags, you thought? He's currently 10th with 9. Yeah. So if Ohtani wins the Triple Crown, I think that would be the biggest help for him to be that one step over Mookie Betts, who's actually, as you said, playing the elite position on the field as well.
Yeah, I put together some numbers of where I think my prediction of where he could win MVP. But he is on pace. If we could put that stat back up in the wall for a second. Again, I mentioned 5.2 WAR and I think 5.6 for the two MVPs that came in second. Shohei's on pace for an 11.7 WAR currently. That's what he's on pace for. Okay. So if he's going to do that, I don't see how you can't give him the MVP award. My prediction for statistics.
Yeah.
I think if he can hit 325 with 50 homers, 120 RBIs, and steal 40 bases, that's where I think it's big. If he can get into the 40-40 club, and with these numbers, the 50-40 club, those 40 stolen bases would be the most of all time for a designated hitter. If you're hitting 50 homers, hitting 325, you'll have an OPS over 1,000 on the year. That's what I think wins him the MVP.
Okay.
40-40, breaking an all-time record. I think he absolutely can win the MVP.